Hi, thanks for tuning in to Gabbing with Girlfriends. And today's guest is not only a girlfriend of mine, I think we're girlfriends, right, Marcy?
I'd say yes, absolutely.
So, not only a girlfriend of mine, but a relative of mine. This is Marci Armstrong, and she's my niece. So, I don't even know where to begin. There is, she has so many stories and like 10 lifetimes of life that I can just imagine if I said, okay, start at the beginning, Marcy, from day one of your life, we would be doing at least a 10 parts to 10 episodes with Marcy because her life is just such a story. So I don't really know where to begin. Should we begin with our meeting? Because we haven't been in each other's lives for all of our lives. We've been in each other's lives for 15 years. Is that right?
Yes, something like that. Yes,
So really, 15 years is a really short amount of years from my life.
absolutely.
So sadly, we haven't always been there for each other, but we are now. And do you want to tell how we met?
Sure. I should say at the beginning though that while you are my aunt, I am your niece. We should tell everyone we're only a few months apart in age, not even a full year apart. We're
Yeah,
we're
that's
the
true.
same age. We're the
Yes.
same age because you were the baby of the family. You were born just a few months before I was born. I'm your oldest brother's, or your only brother, but your older brother, significantly older brother's daughter.
Yes,
So,
that's it. Oh, you did that much
okay,
better
so
than I did.
so so well, I don't want everyone to think they're looking at us and you're younger looking and prettier and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, how could this be the niece? This doesn't make sense." But yeah, so I think of us more in age, we're more like sisters, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
so how did we first meet? Well, so it started with a cycling accident. So I'm a crazy cyclist and love to do it. It's sort of one of the many things I do in my life that I love. But anyway, so I had a cycling accident. And while I was recuperating from that accident, and perhaps there were some painkillers involved, but I was sitting, I don't know, I had a leg injury. I was sitting with my leg propped up all of a sudden, and I remembered back to my mother telling me. So when I was 30 years old, my mother decided to tell me that the man I had grown up with and thought was my father was not my father, that there was someone else. And there were people that knew, but only the older generation. No one my generation knew. And so she told me about this when I was 30, but given my mom's track record, I thought, yeah, I'm not going to look for anybody. And I halfway believed her. And then she changed over the years and said, maybe it was this person, maybe it was the other, like it's like a Mamma Mia story. It could have actually been either person was my father, but she had reason to believe based on how I looked, whatever, or my personality or something, that it was not the person I grew up thinking was my father. And so then years and years later, more
But
than
did she
30
tell you
years
his
later,
name? Did she tell you
she
his name?
did. She did. And I had a little index card. I wrote everything down that she remembered. She remembered his birthday, which was helpful when I decided to try to find people. She remembered his full legal name, like first name, middle name, although that was not the name he went by with her. He had a nickname he went by with her, and with others, different names, I guess. But anyway, she gave me like a little card, and she knew the three sisters. So you and your two sisters. She gave me those names, not middle names, but she knew your first names, and of course, I knew your maiden names for all three of you, and then your parents' names, Frank and Sylvia. So my grandparents. She gave me those names. That was about it. That's about all she remembered. She told me the story of how they met and all of that. So years later, like not 30 years later, 20 something years later, I'm
20
recuperating
years
from this
after
injury.
20 years after she broke that news to you.
Yes, yes. I had tried a couple times. Actually, my late husband, he thought it was such a fascinating story. He tried to find my father several times, but it was back in the days before internet and it wasn't easy to do. So when I'm sitting there with my leg propped up and my laptop on my lap, I decide I'm going to do it. But the first thing I decide to do is I better do a DNA test with my other siblings to make sure that the guy that might have been my father really wasn't. So we did that DNA test. It came back 99.99% certain that you and these siblings do not share the same father. And I'm like, okay, my mom's right. It is this other
Somebody
person.
else.
Yes. And so then I decided to do the search. And it was much easier to do the search because I knew his birthday and his full legal name. I found a death certificate, unfortunately, and realized that he was gone. And the really crazy thing to that part of the story is that I actually lived in the town at the time he died. I lived
That's
there and
still
was a
so unbelievable to me.
I know.
Just
And I lived
crazy.
actually not even that far from the hospital where he died. It was, anyway, the hospital where one of my children was born. Anyway, I knew the hospital. Anyway, just one of those crazy, crazy things in life. Our paths did not overlap then.
Were your kids
But
born in St. Louis?
one of my youngest son was born in St. Louis. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that I knew that.
Yeah. So I love St. Louis. I still have
Me too. Me too.
friends there. Yeah. It's a wonderful place. But anyway,
only I liked my family that lived there. I'd actually go.
I know. I know. I know
That's a
what you
whole
mean.
other episode.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can
so
do
go on.
that. We can do that one too. So anyway, so then I start looking for, so he's gone. I start looking for the three sisters. I start with Donna. I don't know if you want me to say names or not, but anyway, death certificate. Grace, death certificate. And then Gloria. And boom, even though
Miraculously, no death certificate.
no death certificate, but what I found, oddly enough, what popped up were property records. You know, that's all public knowledge. So property in California that you owned, both home and I think maybe someplace where your office was or something. Anyway, your name pops up. And I'm pretty sure you're the right person because I can see your maiden name, even though you've changed your last name. It did pop up. And I decide, you know, you don't just call someone with this news like, hello, I'm a new person in your life. I'm a new relative. Surprise. At this stage of life, who expected it? I decided to write you a letter. And I thought, number one, especially when I saw Terry Butler, I thought, okay, she's going to think I'm someone coming out of the woodwork seeking money or something. And I didn't, you know, I wanted just some information. And I did want a DNA test to kind of show it. That became less important, as you know, later, although we did get DNA evidence through a half sister, another half sister. Anyway. Yeah. So what else should we tell? I wrote you the letter and I had all my mom had was one tiny little photo of my father back when they were really young. He was only 18 when I was born. She was 20. She was 2 years older and he had said he was 20. She was a college student. He was finishing high school, but she didn't know that. Anyway, long and short of it was I had a little tiny photo, which I thought would be proof to you that this is real. And so I wrote this long letter explaining how they met and their relationship, and then that I had found out along the way, but didn't decide until now to try to find someone. Anyway, I wrote a long letter, included that photo, and said, you know, I'm not really seeking anything, but maybe information about him. And you contacted me immediately, and I was stunned. Like, so I mailed that letter, and like a week later, my phone rings, and it's Gloria, and that was pretty surprising and pretty wonderful. Yeah, so that's like how we first connected.
The letter was so well written and so like well written, meaning not grammatically. Well, it was grammatically well written, but it was just like one of those from your heart things that
it was
that somebody writes once in a lifetime. And I think knowing that you were a professor, never mind it, you know, had a doctorate, I thought, you know what? I'm going to trust her. I'm going to believe this. I'm going to believe that she just didn't find a picture of my brother when he was a little boy, that this is all really true. And I did.
Yeah. And it surprised me how trusting you were, Gloria. I was, you know, I mean, the contact from day one was positive. And that did then and does now mean the world to me. You were just so open about it and accepting and not even surprised that I would exist out there.
No.
And, yeah.
But that picture made all the difference. Had that picture not been there, even though you knew what hospital I was born in and you knew what my dad did for a living and whatever else that you knew, the picture really, really iced the cake.
Yeah. And my mom remembers seeing you when you were just born. She was at the hospital. She was a nurse and she was in training to become a nurse, but she was happened to be working when you were born at the hospital you were born and took care of you and knew your parents. Anyway, crazy long story. Then we should tell the story, Gloria, of when we met face to face, which was not long after that in New York, if
New
I'm
York.
remembering
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah,
So we just both happened to be in New York at the same time.
we did.
I guess we were communicating. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. So there's a lot of this that I can't even remember, but I don't remember how we knew. I guess we were in touch a lot and we just
We were.
kind of, oh,
Yeah,
I'm off to New York next week. Oh, so am I,
yeah.
sort of thing.
And in fact, we were just a few blocks from each other, like walkable distance, where the hotel where I was staying, hotel where you were staying. And I think you suggested just come here, we'll meet in this whatever area that
Yeah,
we'll meet
yeah, yeah.
in. And I have to tell you, I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life. And I never get nervous. I was so
Yeah, me too.
nervous
Same.
for that meeting. And I don't know. I don't know why I got so nervous about it, but I was just, well, I guess fear of rejection, probably, right? Like you could just totally reject me. Not that I'm looking for a new family at that stage of life. I had a family, but I don't know, just the fear of rejection, I guess. But I
Well,
walked in.
I think it's the fear of the unknown more than it even
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
rejection. Neither
yeah,
one of us knew what it was going to be like when we were face to face. And am I going to hear horror stories about my brother? Am I going to hear, I don't know. I don't know, but I get it because I was nervous too. But I think it's just fear of the unknown.
right. And it was a really unusual meeting, but you were lovely, warm and lovely. And we sort of walked in and sat down. And I felt like, I mean, you can look at us, we maybe look slightly similar, but in the moment, what was going through my head, which I probably never told you, Gloria, was, oh my gosh, I look more like her than any of these other siblings that I now know are my half siblings. We share the same mother, but we had a different father. I look more like her than I look like any of them. And
But I remember doing
that was,
pictures. I remember doing pictures.
yeah.
And we're both like, oh my God, we're sending them to everybody. Look. And the resemblance was so strong in the pictures.
Well, yeah, I thought so. I can remember little comments you said that I'm sure don't remember. But one thing you said was, "Oh my gosh, we don't need a DNA test. We just look at each other. We don't need a DNA test." But I did go on with my sister Angie, as you know, and have developed a close relationship with her, which has been wonderful. And she did do
And
after some time
Angie's another daughter of my brother's.
with the
So,
different mothers. So we
yeah,
have different
yeah.
mothers, same father.
We all knew about Angie. We just didn't
Yeah.
have a hold.
Yeah. You did. I didn't. Yeah, that's another episode.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I didn't know about her. But then through you, I learned about her and then another half sister with another mother. And who knows? There may be others that come out of the woodwork before the story's done. But anyway.
Somebody's going to listen to this going, oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God. My dad was from Texas too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want a DNA test. I'm sure we're related somehow. And I think
Exactly.
my brother was just kind of one of those Italian guys that just didn't.
Well, and he was very young when I was born, 18 when I was born. And then my half sister that I mentioned, it was born 2 months later. So he actually at age 18 had 2 children born within 2 months of each other. So that's interesting. But yeah, I think he had a lot of fun. Let's just say.
Yeah, I think so.
And by the way, lest anyone be feeling sorry for my mother, she was having a whole lot of fun with, hence not knowing who was my father. There were at least 2 guys that could have potentially been my father. So she was having a lot of fun at the same
So did
time.
your dad? So did the man that raised you? Did he know?
He did know. He actually did know, but would have gone to his grave and never mentioned it. My maternal grandparents knew, but would have gone to their grave and never mentioned it. My aunts and uncles, so my mom's generation, they knew, but would have gone to their graves because it was the 1950s when I was born. And it was just to not know.
Yeah.
Well, she got pregnant. Number one, she got pregnant and had to get married. And then not knowing which one she should marry. I don't know that there was an option with both of them, but I know the other guy that was her high school sweetheart stepped up and said, I'll marry you. it was just, it was a secret. It was just a
Yeah.
huge secret. And there
Yeah.
were no, and all the photos of your brother, my father, were destroyed by the family. Just like there will be no, and my mom saved
Oh,
that
that's
one
true.
little one. And yes, and then she, I think Gloria, that she died recently in the
Mhm.
fall. She died.
Mhm.
And in going through all of her things, I found another picture. I think I may have texted you that other picture that I think was like his high school photo. It's so cute. But anyway, I did find one
Isn't that
more little
funny?
picture she had saved. Who knew? And it had a very sweet message from him to her on the back, which he probably wrote to all the girls, right?
You just don't know.
Yeah, right,
You
right.
just, I mean, that's what's really, I don't know if the word's interesting, but it is interesting to me, is that I mean, it's like if only we could go back and and see what everything was like, what was their relationship, and was it,
Right.
it's just, yeah, and knowing that all the pictures were destroyed, and
Mhm.
it's also kind of, I don't know, tragic's the right word either, but it's yeah, tragic.
Yeah, it's just, I just have to look at it as it's just the way life was meant to be.
Mhm.
I don't understand it. We'll never understand it. But for whatever reason, it just wasn't meant to be that I connected with him while he was alive. It just, and I did go through some sadness, by the way, about that.
No, no.
About not ever meeting
Having
him.
having been in St. Louis during his time in St. Louis and where he passed is just, I think that's devastating. I do.
I know. And I really felt that it was almost like I grieved, but I grieved for someone I didn't know. My mother did always tell me, I have to take, if you just had known my mom, anything she told me, I took with a grain of salt. But I think this might have been true. She claimed that they continued to see each other for 4 years after I was born, and that he saw me over. I mean, it was an affair. They both were married to other people. They carried on an affair for about 4 years. So I did see him when I was little. I just have no memory, and no one was saying this is your father.
Of
I
course.
just I did see him, and she says that I saw your mother during that time period too. So I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt. It's possible, but I don't remember. Of course, I don't. I was 4 years and younger, so I don't remember any of it.
Well,
But in my mind, I never met him.
so anyway, that's how we know each other.
Crazy.
Thank you to my brother. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really crazy, and it's a blessing, because I'm really happy that you're in my life. And again, I wish it would have been much sooner than it was, and that we would have briefly met your late husband, and your
Yeah.
kids, and briefly met mine. And it's like, I wish we would have had those years to share together.
Right. Right.
Now our kids are all grown up and
They
kids, and
are.
everybody's like, we're grandmas, and
We
which
are.
is heaven. But yeah, life just goes. It just,
It
flies by.
does. And it's
So
just, perhaps someday in an afterlife, if you believe that, maybe we'll understand all of this. But for whatever reason, this is just the way it did, right? The way it unfolded.
do you believe in that afterlife?
I do. I definitely do. Like I've said to some of my family members, I'm going to be damn disappointed if I don't ever see my husband again, my late husband again. So there better be an afterlife. I don't know what form it will take, but I am a believer. I am definitely a believer that the spirit goes on after this in some form, in some way. I'm a definite believer.
Have you ever dated since then?
No, I have not. That's an interesting question. Totally open to it, but just have not met anyone. And I have to say one thing. I'm sorry if there are any men. I'm hoping it's only your girlfriends watching this. But, oh my God, have you seen men our age? I think women are well preserved. Maybe it's just
Yeah,
because I live in
definitely
Texas.
different. Definitely different in
No, I
sense.
think we take care of ourselves better. I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but oh my God, have you seen men this age?
Yes.
Present, your spouse accepted, of course,
Thank you very
the
much.
exception to the rule.
But yeah, I couldn't never imagine dating again if I were in that
Yeah,
situation. I just couldn't imagine. I just think you reach a point in your life where I just love myself. I just love being with
exactly.
myself. I couldn't imagine having to worry about what somebody else wants for dinner again, or I just, no thanks.
Yes.
But I think that's nice, and I get why people do, and I think that that's nice that you're open to it. And
Well, and I do have a male friend who happens to be quite a bit younger that we do lots of things together. He happens to be gay, my gay best friend, but we do lots of things together. So it's not like I don't have a man to do things with,
is he
right?
is he a
But it's not a
cyclist?
relationship. He is not. No, he's not. He's actually a colleague, a professional colleague, but we are just really close. We were close friends. He was a close friend with my husband as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so I do have someone that I do. And then of course I have lots of girlfriends, lots of friends,
Yeah,
a,
that's
a
all you
few
need.
close friends and a huge extended family.
And it'll probably get bigger after this.
Yes, exactly.
So, what are your plans for the rest of the winter? Are you going skiing at all?
I, I had a ski trip planned over the holidays. I was in Denver with where both of my children and both of my grandchildren live.
Mhm.
And I was there and it was in Denver, minus 14 degrees, and we canceled the ski trip. It's just too cold.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't have anything planned, but any ski trip planned. So I am neck deep in the semester. I am a professor for those who didn't know, and so I'm neck deep in that. And I do have some fun trips planned. I'm going to Italy in May, and then I'm going to the Pantanal to see the animals in Brazil in
Wow.
August. So
And
two fun trips come up.
who are you doing those trips with?
Family members, family members.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to a wedding in Italy, and then taking 2 weeks after the wedding with one of my sisters,
Oh,
and
lovely.
then one of my brothers and my son, niece. Anyway, but in August to Brazil.
Oh, cool. So you're keeping
Yes,
yourself really busy, and
always.
yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So you're a professor. Do you want to talk about what you profess in?
Yes, so I focus on customer experience and customer engagement, and I'm on the analytical side. This is where everybody's eyes will glaze over, which I don't
I
want
love
your
it.
your ears will glaze over if you're listening. So I focus on all of the experiences that companies engineer, that they do, and I focus on the analytic part of that. So how do we measure that we're doing the experience right? So if you want to think about for example, if you want to think about the huge fiasco that happened in December with Southwest Airlines, there are so many things along that experience, like literally a million little details that have to go right and of course we know it didn't go right. It went terribly wrong. And so we really look at and study all of the parts of that experience, all of the ways companies measure to make sure they're doing the right thing for the customer, what they do
But
when things go wrong, and yeah,
in this particular instance where all the things
right.
didn't go right, do you measure um, how all the things went wrong and the implications of all the
You better be, yeah, yes, you'd better be doing that. But even when things are going well, you better be measuring every step. There's always little things that go wrong, and you want to fix them fast. If you want to keep customers and I mean, with social media, word spreads instantaneously when something goes wrong for, one little customer that might not have mattered some time ago. Now it's so important. And so, yeah, and yes, I can be really critical of things. Southwest did some things well, but they were far too slow to get out there with some kind of messaging and to reassure customers that we're going to reimburse you, which they are doing. In fact, I know they've been in front of Congress the last couple of days. The chief operations officer has been in front of Congress testifying, and I think like 278,000 customers have already been reimbursed for all that went wrong, and they said they
wow.
only have, like, I don't know, 10 to 15,000 more customers left to reimburse. So that's the right thing to do. It's just they didn't say it fast enough. There was this lag before they finally came out and said it, and I'm just counting the
Everybody was
days. Like,
panicking. I mean, that was
oh yes, it just ruined Christmas for
yeah,
so many people. For
yeah,
so many
so
people.
scary. So I mean, so scary to be a traveler, knowing
Oh
that
yeah,
it's your vacation is in somebody else's hands. Your time with your
exactly,
family is somebody else's hands, and it's yeah, just
exactly.
horrible,
Yeah.
horrible, horrible.
But
So,
many times things go right. So that's just an example of things going wrong. And I teach students how to measure all of these things. And marketing research is part of what I do. And then I do a lot of, I founded an institute a few years ago that focuses on customer experience and customer engagement. And in all different industries, we focus on this. And it's a lot of fun. We bring together students and companies and do projects for companies.
I love it.
So
That's so
yeah,
cool.
it's a lot of fun.
Really cool. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's just interesting to me. It's just sometimes, unless you know somebody that does a certain job, sometimes you just don't even know the job exists. You just don't know
Right.
that there's actually a need to learn this. So there's a
Oh,
class for
sure.
this. And yeah, you just don't even
Absolutely.
think about it. I love that. So you were born in Dallas.
Fort Worth, yes.
Yeah. I don't know why I said that because I too was born in Fort Worth. So I don't
Yes,
even
you
know why
were.
I said Dallas. And you've always lived there?
No, I've lived several different places. I had a stepfather that was in the military. And so we lived in it was the Vietnam War era. And we lived multiple places. But then I came back to Texas for a while as a young adult and then went to St. Louis for 10 years. But I have been back in Dallas for 24 years. I can't believe it. Never intended to, but put down roots and love it here.
I just can't believe you were in St. Louis for 10 years. Never mind. It's
I
when,
know, I
being
know.
there when my brother passed away, but it was probably when I lived there too.
It was. You were there too. Yes, that was one of, I never told you that part probably. One of the property records I found was a home in St. Louis. And I could, like, were you in Chesterfield or one of the
Mhm,
suburbs anyway?
mhm.
Yeah, I found that and I was just stunned. It was just one of those things in life, right?
See, as scary as the internet is, and I think it's scary, it's
It is.
how look at the joy and look at some of the, you know, life-changing experiences that have come about because of the internet that could have never happened before. I'll tell you
Right.
what really freaks me out is that people use GPS now, and we
Yeah.
used to use maps, and I don't understand how we drove reading a map. I will never understand that. I mean,
Well,
it's just
I was never good at it.
no, me neither.
Never
I still
good
can't
at it.
read a map. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it's crazy. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So how did we go from A to B? I just,
I don't know,
um,
but we changed quickly. Those
yeah,
nav systems in our cars, they're pretty wonderful.
yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't live without it now. I
No.
think I'm too reliant on it, but anyway, but they're pretty wonderful.
There are some places where even though I've been there, gone from A to B, the same route for 1,000 years, I'll still put it in my GPS. I'll do
I
it because
know.
I think, what if there's an accident? What if it wants to route me someplace else? And it's like, it
Exactly.
never does. It's still the same
Exactly.
3 turns, but I do it. And it's just, we've become, I guess, a slave to our phone or a
I
slave to
know.
everything that's kind of digital. And it's,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, that's right. That's right.
um, so do you have any favorite TV shows?
Oh, favorite TV shows. Oh, so at the moment, oh, you'll think this is well. If you knew me better, you would think this was hilarious because I can be very cerebral. But I'm going through a period. I've had a lot of loss in my life in the last few months. I know I told you, my sister's husband died unexpectedly. Then my mother died, though it was the end of a long illness and she lived a long and full life and she was 86 years old. So that was not unexpected. But
Mhm.
then my young sister-in-law died 2 days before Christmas from pancreatic cancer. So I've had a lot of loss. I'm back in therapy, which is great. Huge believer in therapy. And I seem to be going through a period where I can't even watch any news because it's just so devastating. Well, living here in Texas doesn't make it any easier, as you might imagine. Um, and so, anyway, so I've been binge watching Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh, that's
That
fun.
wedding dresses, do you know that? But it's
I do.
like, okay, there's always a love story. It always ends well. They always find, and there's beautiful fashion. They find a fabulous dress, but that is so unlike me. But so I went to my therapist saying, okay, this weird thing is happening. I'm binge watching Say Yes to the Dress. She thought it was perfectly fine. So That was just what I needed right now, was something a little less dark. I tend to like things that are darker.
Yeah, me too. A lot of crime shows. I like,
yeah, I'll watch those, but not right now. So I tend to be going light and fluffy.
Well, you think that's light and fluffy? This isn't light and fluffy. It's actually kind of dark. But my niece Gina, Donna's daughter, who lives in Toronto, she was visiting me, and Debbie was here as well. And they both said, both of them, independently of each other, said, "Have you watched?" I'm almost embarrassed to even say it, but Ginny and Georgia. And I'm like, no, what is this? And my niece said, "Oh no, you got to put this on." And so she puts it on, and I'm watching 30 seconds of. I said, "It's a teenager's thing. I am not sitting here watching a teenager's thing. No, I can't." To me, it would probably be like, I don't even know what the teenager shows are, but I'm like, I can't watch this. And she said, "Trust me." And Debbie's like, "Oh my God, the first show you may be like, oh, I don't think so. But by the time the third show happens, you can't stop watching it." So
that's one of those. That one reminds me of like Breaking Bad. Do you remember when Breaking Bad first came out and my sons were saying, "Oh my God, Mom, you've got to watch this." And I'm going, the premise is a high school science teacher become meth cook. It's like, I'm not interested. That's just not anything. They're watch one episode, Mom, one episode. Oh my God, one episode. I was totally hooked.
Yeah, that's me with this show. Guilty pleasure. I can't stop.
It's on my list. I'll put it down and watch it.
I'll
put it down and watch it.
And then
the other one that's like that is Ted Lasso. I mean, I didn't watch Ted Lasso until third season came out. And had I not been on a long international flight that had a bunch of episodes and there wasn't anything else I wanted to watch, I sort of binge watched several episodes and got totally hooked. Yeah. Love that show.
Me too. Love. So this is going to be a whole new segment of Gabbing with Girlfriends, are these quizzes. So you ready for your next question?
I am.
Do you have a favorite motto or inspirational quote that you want to share with anybody that's listening?
Not really an inspirational quote, just sort of a philosophy. Well, it's about part of my life, at least. I think at this stage of life, the most important investment we can make is not a monetary investment in, the stock market or whatever, but investing in our own health and fitness. And I'm huge about that. And I love that. I don't necessarily think it's going to cause us to live longer. Maybe whatever time we have on earth is whatever time we have on earth, but our quality of life is going to be much higher if we invest in health, which means, you get all those tests done that you hate getting done every year. And you stay on top of that and you watch your fitness. I'm a huge fitness buff. And I added several years ago, I do a lot of strength training now. I never did any strength training. I'm all about being outside. I do live someplace where you can be outside year round. But now I've added in the gym strength training all the time too. So I think that staying fit and healthy, not focusing on weight, not focusing so much on appearance, although you get benefits from all of that, of course, in appearance, but just not focusing on that, just focusing on staying healthy and investing so we stay healthy longer. I think that's so important. So that's not exactly a motto, but just a way to live, And then staying super busy. I am, and I think you and I may be alike in that respect. Definitely. I stay very busy and I'm around young people. I'm a professor. I'm around young people and love that. I don't know how people go into.
It actually keeps you young.
It does.
It'll make it so you like Ginny and Georgia. Okay, what's your favorite drink? It doesn't have to be alcohol.
Just my favorite drink is probably tea. It sounds so boring. I've got iced tea with me right here, but I like hot tea. I like iced tea, and I like many different varieties of tea, depending on type of day and where I am and whether it's winter or summer.
Yeah, me too.
Whatever, but I love tea. My guilty pleasure was an addiction I had for many, many, many years, which was Diet Coke. And I had to break that addiction, although I still have 2 or 3 a week, as like if I've done something hard that I didn't want to do, at the end of it, I like reward myself with that. And
sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
No,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
probably once every 3 weeks, I'll be eating something that just makes me want a Coke.
Yeah.
For whatever reason,
So
I need to have a Coke. French fries will do that to me. But
oh yeah.
um,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, that would be my. But I couldn't imagine being addicted to a soft drink, and I know a lot of people are. I have a
Oh, it
friend in
was
England
bad.
that she was Diet Coke. She must
Oh,
have
it was
drank
bad.
2 liters of Diet Coke, or liters, the big bottle.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 liters of that a day, every day.
Yeah, no, I think that's quite possible. I would limit myself. I mean, it wasn't addiction. I would limit myself to no more than 4 or 5. Oh, how many ounces are those? The bigger plastic bottles. Of course, all that plastic too was not great. But I would limit myself to 4 or 5 of those a day. That's a huge
That's a
quantity,
lot. Yeah.
and that just can't be good for you. But
No,
anyway, so
no.
so I did gradually get down to 1 a day, but I don't drink coffee. I should mention that. I mean, just don't like coffee. Um,
So you
but
need your caffeine from somewhere.
that's was my 1 in the morning I couldn't get rid of. So I went 5 years still having that 1 in the morning. And then I just woke up one morning and said, I'll just have
Fine.
tea because I love tea. I just have tea in the morning. And so I did it. And now it's more as a reward, so I can't say that I don't drink. I did go a long period without drinking any. And then I
Special
kind of,
occasions. That's your
yeah,
special occasion
a
drink.
treat. It's a treat. That is very not exciting.
If
true.
you were an animal, what would you be and why?
I would be an eagle because
Oh, that's
you
a good
fly.
one.
Yeah, you're a predator and you fly free and you go to I'm a mountain person.
Yeah.
You go high and very free soaring, and I just like and a predator. I am a kind of a type A personality.
I love
Not
that.
kind of. I am definitely a type
Yeah,
A
definitely.
personality.
I love that.
Yeah.
If you could only listen to one song until the end of time, what would it be?
Oh my God, I can't do that one. I can't do that
That's
one.
too hard.
I have so much music that I like, and I like different music for different times and different. One song, that's a good
You
one.
know what mine would be?
All of your other girlfriends that you interview that are from the music
But this is
industry.
new. This is new.
Yeah, I
Nobody
know, I
else has
know.
done it.
No, I know, but I want you to go back and ask all of them that
Okay.
question and
Do you want
see
me
if
to tell
they
you
have one.
Do you want me to tell you what mine would be?
What would it be? Yes, I want to hear.
Always and Forever by Heat Wave. That's mine
Oh,
and my husband's song.
that's a great song. That's a
I could
great
listen
one.
to
And
it every day. Every day I could listen to it.
still, and you've listened to it a year or two, right?
Yeah, forever. And it's my ringtone. So
Oh, it is. I love it. I love it.
Okay, last question before we wrap this up.
Okay.
We have to do a part 2. And I know we have to do a part 3 and 4 and 5 because there's so much more to talk about.
Well, I want to do one where I ask you questions. I told you I'm better at asking questions than answering.
That's going to be our next one.
Yes.
Okay. So, what's your number one pet peeve?
Oh, my number one pet peeve.
That'd be a hard one. I have 1,000.
It's a hard one to narrow down. My number one pet peeve, probably lazy people. Although
I like that.
Yeah, although I have tried to work on compassion. I loved your first podcast of this new year of 2023, where you talked. I just so related to everything you were saying about what you wanted to work on in 2023. I can't tell you how many year after year after year I don't really do resolutions, but I've had the thought, I've got to be more compassionate this year. That's my word. I've got to be more compassionate. And I work on it. It's just not my nature,
But that's because we're not patient people. And
no, I am not.
I find that where I lack compassion is dealing with what I would deem to be, I hate to say this, incompetence.
Oh my gosh, it's the word I use. See, we are alike. This is sad too. We're remarkably alike in some ways, and then very, very different.
We are.
So there you go. Genetics, my friends. It's genetics over, nature versus nurture.
There you go. See, we got
the
answer for that.
Patience, I have none.
None.
I have none.
None.
And very direct. I think we're both very direct in how we communicate with people. And for that reason, I've always had no problem working with mostly men in a business school. I'm in a business school, mostly men, although it's much better today than it used to be. Same
yeah,
for you. Yeah, music industry,
I
work with
think
lots of men.
I think my lack of compassion stems from me thinking that either nobody does their job well or nobody wants to do their job, or and these days nobody wants to work anyway. But I just and now I find that you know, I can't say that I really am doing this all the time, but I try. And if somebody does something wrong while I'm shopping or at a restaurant, I think, I don't know what their day's been like. And then I try to play off
That's
that.
better. That's
So
better.
so I try to bring compassion into my life that way. And again, not every day, but I'm trying. I am trying. By
That's
the end of the year, I would like to think that I'm at least 6 out of 7 days following that principle of, I don't know what their day was like. I don't know what they
Yeah,
have
I like
going on at
that.
home.
I like that. I'm going to
So,
steal that. I'm going
yeah,
to see if I can
use it. Yeah,
apply that a little bit more in my life.
yeah.
Because I'm not proud of me when I'm very impatient and
Me
I'm
neither.
dealing with someone who's incompetent. Another word I use a lot.
Me
Yeah,
neither.
I'm going to think of that. That's a great way to
Not
think of
meaning
it,
I'm not
Gloria.
proud of you when you're like that. I'm not proud of
Yeah.
me when I'm like
No,
that.
no, right, right. Both of us,
Um,
both of us.
yeah. This went so fast.
It did. It
Uh,
did.
So can we really do this again?
Sure. I would love it.
I love it.
I
I
don't know
love
that
it. I
I'm going
love
to
it.
step into I don't know that I'm going to step into Gabby's footsteps though. Her session
We're,
hers
we're suddenly you're
those are
suddenly your
great.
co-host because you've done it over 5 times.
Yeah. No, she's great. I love your sessions with Gabby. They're
She
so wonderful.
Gabby's very funny. She is
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very funny. It's very dry. She has an English husband, just very dry. And I
Yeah.
always have to think about the English husband because you have to be dry to understand him.
Yes.
And she's lovely. She's really lovely. You would like her. I hope we can see each other soon. You need to come visit me. So I'm going to text you.
I
I'm going
do.
to text you
I
some
do.
come visit me texts. So 'cause I don't want
Sounds
to just
great.
keep seeing you here. It's been forever. So
I know.
anyway,
It has. It has.
I love you. We'll sign off,
I love you
and
too. Thank
I'll see
you.
you here soon, and hopefully in person sooner.
Sounds great. Bye.
Bye, bye, Marcy. Bye. Thanks. Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you.
Gloria.
Thanks so much for tuning in today, and be sure to follow Gabbing with Girlfriends on here so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on social media for more fun and in-depth conversations. Thank you.